Raise your hand if I told you that going into NFL free agency and the legal tampering period on March the 9th, that you had your heart dead set, grab him or bust on Teddy Bridgewater. If you're one of the zero people that raised your hands, then you are super excited because he is one of the names that the Lions, that Brad Holmes has added to the team in free agency. Now, I don't mean to mock Teddy Bridgewater. From everything that I understand, he's an outstanding guy, a great role model. I love the work that he does working with kids back in his home area in Florida. And he got in trouble for some things that are just ridiculous rules, things that he could provide to help kids to be able to be involved in sports. So, Teddy Bridgewater, I don't mean to make fun of you. You are an awesome guy from all that I can tell. That said, I think that bringing Teddy Bridgewater back would have been fine. He's a competent backup, but the Lions, I think they've fallen a little bit short from at least what my expectations were going into free agency. Now, they did make a real important move, and I think that real important move was the fact that they added Cade Mays to the Detroit Lions. He's a center. He's played most of his career in Carolina. He was with the Panthers, helped lead them to the playoffs, and we know how bad the Lions' offensive line was last year when they lost Frank Ragnow. And I think that it's great that they were able to get him. He was a guy that, if you were watching in February, and I did my predictions, I called it back in February. The Lions were going to sign Cade Mays. Now, that might not have been their top guy. I mean, he might not have been the guy that they were targeting first. But when you look at the amount that they were able to get him for versus what Tyler Linderbaum signed, I mean, that's an outrageous contract. And I know that he's a great player too, and I would have loved to have had him on the Lions. And I know that he's going to be protecting Fernando Mendoza, who's going to be the first overall pick out of Indiana. So I think that was a huge thing. Tom Brady reportedly had a lot of influence on that, and that relationship between a center and between a starting quarterback is almost symbiotic. And so I get that part. But I think the Raiders big time overspent. And you notice I combined Raiders and Ravens, and I'm going to get to that here before we leave on Motown Exile. But so the Lions, I think they did the mix of financially responsible versus overspending. I think that they got a guy that's going to be there. He's young enough. He's going to be 27 in April, so 27 over the course of the entire season next year, barring injuries, which, knock on wood, he hasn't had. I think that we're going to be in good shape there. On the first day, they signed Cade Mays, and then Cade Mays was also accompanied by Larry Borum. Larry Borum, offensive tackle, played last year in Miami. He has a interesting history, as he is known as I don't know how to say it, the poopy pants offensive lineman. He's the guy that people allege that he had a little bit of an accident. All right, hey, we've all been there, but I don't know if that's true or not. I think he denied it, but they brought him in for depth. He's an offensive tackle, so those two guys. Then on day two, they brought in a replacement for David Montgomery in the form of one Isaiah Pacheco, running back from the Kansas City Chiefs. Pacheco is known for his violent style of running. He's won some championships in Kansas City, so he brings that pedigree as well to the Lions. I'm okay with that signing. I think that they brought him here because he is vicious in short yardage, and they need that one guy. You know, it gets down to third and less than a yard from the goal line, and they haven't been able to get it done with Gibbs. They're going to go to Pacheco, or on those third and short or fourth and short positions on the field too, in those situations as well. So Isaiah Pacheco from the Chiefs comes over. The Lions also, these are some re-signings. I mentioned Teddy Bridgewater, bringing him in as their backup quarterback. The Lions are bringing back Malcolm Rodriguez. He is a original draft pick of Brad Holmes and the Lions. And they're also bringing back defensive back Rock Ya-Sin, who was pretty good depth guy last year and was called upon more, I think, than the Lions thought they would have to, and did a great job. And last but not least, really the first move that they made before the new league season started was kicker Jake Bates. So the Lions have done some things. You can't accuse them of not doing anything, okay? And I had a debate going back and forth with my best friend earlier. Shout out, Sweet Sassy in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I I'm not wild about what's not happened. I was getting a little frustrated because the team hadn't done much in terms of restructuring. They did restructure Jared Goff this morning, so that's a big move for them to get them under the salary cap by about $30 million. It gives them some flexibility to sign some more players, also probably so they can sign some of their draft picks as well. So Jared Goff, being the consummate professional and team guy that he is, he does what he needs to do. It doesn't really change his contract and money that he's going to get. It just gets shifted into signing bonus, so it doesn't count against the cap. All the teams do it. It really is one of the reasons why people say that there isn't a salary cap. Now, there is, but teams have a way to work around that, and Brad Holmes took advantage of that opportunity. So I had promised a moment ago, and I'm going to get to that here coming up, but I want to also remind you, if you like what you're seeing, if you enjoy this content, please like or subscribe to Motown Exile. We are now at 35 subscribers. I know that sounds like it's a mammoth amount, but to me, for a guy who had never done anything on YouTube, anything like this before, I'm pretty impressed by what I've been able to do so far. I want to keep it going. So please like or subscribe. Love to have you here as a regular on Motown Exile. We got a website coming out. We've got some other exciting features that are going to be available to you soon as Detroit sports fans in exile. So we would love to have you as part of that and be part of the ground floor as we grow this little thing called Motown Exile. So the other news that came out yesterday, and I have to talk about this because it was wild. I was running some errands yesterday and I turned on a podcast, and all of a sudden they were joking about Max Crosby. And I thought that they were just playing around. I thought it was just for fun. It wasn't. Max Crosby, who was traded to the Baltimore Ravens for two first round draft picks, one in this year's draft, one in the 2027 draft, the trade was rescinded. It was called off by the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens general manager today in an interview cited that the reason it was medical reasons. Now, if you watch the NFL Talking Heads, and I happened to watch a lot of that stuff on TV here and there, I knew that Max Crosby had a meniscus injury. He had had surgery. He had had it repaired. For whatever reason, Baltimore being they, weren't happy with where that was. Reports out of Dallas that their medical person, their physician, also looked at it. I can't validate that or not, and they also had concerns. And the reason I bring it up is the Lions made that move with their salary cap by restructuring Jared Goff. Do you think that the Lions will use that money and try to pull off the most unexpected of unexpected trades and still trade for Max Crosby? Would you trade for him if you knew the reason the Ravens didn't follow through on that trade? And if you didn't know, they went and signed Trey Hendrickson today as well, and their general manager claims that he wanted to have them both. So who knows? I mean, that very well could be. But would you go for that move right now? Based on what I understand and just the patterns Brad Holmes has showed us, because we like to say here that future behavior is predicted by past behavior. I don't think he will. I really don't. I will be shocked if the Lions pull off some kind of move like that. One of the reasons why is that I know Brad, and we all should know this by now and understand it. I'm not making excuses for him, okay? I'm not a Brad apologist. I want a championship as badly as any one of you, believe me. I do, however, think that Brad has a plan. And whether or not we agree with that plan, it really doesn't matter, because as long as Sheila Hamp believes in it, then it's fine. And we do have to continue, at least for the time being, to give Brad the benefit of the doubt, because our history as a franchise, as Detroit Lions fans, we know this, has been abysmal. Do you remember the Millen Man March? What an embarrassment. And then on top of that, you had all these other guys. They hired people off of the 0-16, Martin Mayhew, and it was a disaster. And at least Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell have brought some respectability to the team. So I would love to see the Lions make that move. I don't have all the information, obviously, that Brad Holmes does. I just have to trust that he's making the right choices. Am I disappointed that the team has not done more to fill some of these holes? Yes. I have to assume that Brad has a plan for the draft. We know he loves his guys, rightly or wrongly. We also have to consider guys like Ennis Rakestraw coming off an injury. He knows how he's doing in his rehab. Is he ready? That would be huge if he were ready. Terry and Arnold. It feels like we're like this close to having a Dateline episode about Terry and Arnold. But nothing has come out new that has attached him or connected him to that crime in Florida. And if there's no facts there, if he's not connected, then he's back with us. And hey, he's coming off an injury too. Maybe he steps up. Giovanni Manu. I've been hugely critical of him. Hugely. And I want him to succeed. I want everything Brad Holmes does to work. I'm not rooting against him. I just will not lower the expectation for him to succeed. And when I think he's made a mistake, I'll say so. And judging by the way that he responds and the way he speaks when he's with the media, I think that he is always open to that. And I think one of the best qualities that you can have as a leader is to be reflective. And if anything, I hope that Brad Holmes is reflective. And hey, another thing I heard listening to one of the Detroit sports stations is the Lions, if anything, are honest. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. So I think sometimes I'm guilty of this as much as anyone. We get caught up in what we hope will happen, and we lose sight of what will likely happen. And again, that's where I fall back on the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior. And that's what I hope is, or what I think is happening here with the Lions. So recap how things are going right now. As of 4 in the afternoon here in Arizona, a little after 7 in Michigan, the Lions in free agency, they have brought in Teddy Bridgewater, backup quarterback. Defensive back Rock Ya-Sin re-signed as a free agent. Linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez, he is re-signed as a free agent. Isaiah Pacheco, running back from the Kansas City Chiefs, he's brought in as a backup to Jahmyr Gibbs. Offensive tackle Larry Borom, he is coming in as a free agent, a depth piece on the offensive line, likely at tackle. The big grab for the Lions was Cade Mays, center from the Carolina Panthers. That's a big pickup for the Lions, big pickup for Brad Holmes, huge pickup for Jared Goff. I mean, Jared Goff was lights out last year, and he had more sacks than he's ever had in his entire career. And I don't fault him for that one bit. He still threw for 4,500 yards and over almost 40 touchdowns, or a little over 40 touchdowns. It was some insane amount if you think about the lack of protection he had. And then last but not least, we've re-signed our kicker, Jake Bates, to an exclusive rights free agent. That's something we have because we didn't draft him or anything like that. We just picked him up. If you remember, he was selling bricks or something like that in Houston, Texas. So that's our news for now. We'll talk a little bit more as things come up. I'll try to jump on if there's some huge breaking news. But that's all I've got for you today. So if you like what you saw, please hit that like button and also subscribe. We want to try to get to 100 subscribers ASAP. We're shifting that goal to May the 1st. So if we can get to 100 subscribers by May the 1st, that would be an awesome, awesome thing. And without further ado, we'll say so long until next time here on Motown Exile. My name's Ryan Relkins. See you tomorrow.